Hi everyone, welcome to Southern Missouri Judicial Services Training Center located here in Springfield, Missouri. And I'm Tim Brenner, and I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite friends, K9 Striker. So this started about 7 years ago when I was approached by a Greene County investigator who said that he was starting a task force which would be made up of fire investigators, law enforcement officers, and also some private companies that would come together in the event of a major fire scene to investigate to see if it was arson related. And they were curious about having an accelerant detection dog, wondered if we knew of any, which we did not, and we were a private company, so we were willing to train one and volunteer that dog for that service. So I've been training and handling dogs, and my first dog I worked was back in 1988, so I've been around the canines for a lot of years, so I used the same basic principles to train this dog. First off, I went out to a rescue and I found the dog, and it was a black Malinois. He had big brown eyes and he just looked like he was smiling at me when I met him, and he was really happy and he's energetic. So I adopted him, and his name is Striker. I named him Striker. I thought it kind of sounded like a fire investigation type dog, and brought him home, started training with him. He picked up really fast, and I didn't know what I was doing. I did a lot of research on the internet, couldn't find anything on the topic, so I just hid some gasoline, hid some kerosene, some lighter fluid, and I thought we'd probably call it good with that. And he was really good at finding those odors, so I felt like it was time to get certified. So in Kansas City, Missouri, they were holding a NAPWDA seminar, which I was very familiar with NAPWDA. It stands for North American Police Work Dog Association. And at their seminar, they offered the arson certification as well. So I said, why not? Let's take this certification, see if I can get him certified on that. And I traveled to Kansas City to the seminar, and boy, were we surprised. We only knew a couple of odors. There was 18 different odors out there that we hadn't even trained on. So the guys were super helpful. They helped me with some of the training techniques they felt was very important for accelerant dogs, which was a lot different than what I've been training with narcotic dogs. So we were able to do that, take Striker back home, get him ready, because he was definitely not ready for certification on that day. So I brought him back home and started training on 18 different odors. And what makes that really unique is each one of those odors, I have to take Striker across 200 times for that to become a memory in his mind and for him to be very proficient in that odor. So I brought him home and had to do that several times a day for 7 months before we were ready to go. So while in Kansas City, I met the guys that were also from the Dallas Fire Department, Dallas Police Department, and the Texas State Fire Marshal's office, and they informed me that the seminar was coming up for them in the fall. So I was excited about that, so I signed up for that, got Striker ready, and took him to Dallas. Dallas went a lot better for us. We were prepared. We've been over those odors several times, hundreds of times, and he was ready to go. We spent the week training with those folks, very helpful people, very nice people from all over the country came in there, and I was able to get him certified during that week, not only with NAPWDA, but also the Texas State Fire Marshal's Association. Since SMOJS is a private company, I would also like the ability to work him on private fires, such as insurance company work, stuff like that. So I looked around, I found another group called CADA, which stands for Canine Accelerant Detection Association, and this certification would cover both ways on being on a private fire scene or a public fire scene. This was just focused towards accelerant detection dogs, and the people there were great from all over the country. Even handlers came in from Canada, and I met with these folks, went through a week's worth of training with them, and did their certification process as well and passed. So I was able to bring back a CADA, a NAPWDA, and also a Texas State Fire Marshal's Association, so I could bring it back to the newly forming Greene County Arson Task Force, and I was able to offer our canine services at a volunteer rate for these folks. All right, let's talk about Striker's toys. This is a Kong ball. This toy here, he gets anytime he wants. If we're in the backyard playing fetch, if he's hanging out with the family, if he's hanging out in the living room, this is the ball he gets to play with. And he loves this ball, and you can throw it for him, he'll bring it back. It kind of gets old watching TV with him because you're constantly throwing the ball, he's bringing it back, and that's just his favorite game, so that's what he does all night long. But then he has another toy. Oh, look at Striker, he's interested in that toy. This toy here is just a plain old rubber hose. It's actually a piece of sandblasting hose. This is his actual reward. So the only time he gets to play with this toy here is that when he finds the ignitable liquid inside the fire scene. So whenever he sniffs it out, finds it, sits down, this is the toy he wants. This is what he gets.
Doesn't get to play with it any other time, so this becomes his favorite toy because it's kind of like the mystery toy. It only shows up whenever he smells those odors.
So why are canines useful in fire scenes? The biggest reason they're useful in fire scenes is you have to remember what fire is. Fire likes to burn up and out, and if you imagine this room on fire, everything's going towards the ceiling, so everything on the ceiling is coming down. And once that happens, it forms debris piles that the fire investigator has to sift through to try to figure out if there's any pour patterns or burn patterns, and watch the V patterns from where the fire started to get a better idea on how the fire acted and behaved at the time it was burning. So with the canine, we can bring it into the room and go through this whole room very fast. And if the dog keys on an area that he smells the accelerants, it will indicate it to us. And then it comes the real work, collecting the sample. Because once Stryker keys on an area, he alerts to it, he indicates the exact spot where he's smelling the ignitable liquid. I'll put down a little pin with a flag on it to show where I think that liquid is, and then we walk away. The fire investigator has to come back in with an evidence collection can, which is this big. It's not very big, and you can't feel it all the way to the top. So he has to put all this debris inside of a can, which would take thousands of cans if we were to do this whole room. But by using the canine, we can actually bring it in and show exactly where those areas are to collect, that the canine's indicating that he's smelling an ignitable liquid being poured in that area. And the fire investigator can use that information whenever he's interviewing the suspects, because we don't know if the fire was set to conceal a crime, if it was set just to for financial gain. There's so many reasons why people set fires. So this is just one more tool in the toolbox that they can use. So you just have to look at the canine as being no more than a tool. It's a tool in the toolbox for the fire investigator. He can get a good sample and send it off to the lab, because just a canine alerting and indicating by himself isn't anything until the lab confirms what he was smelling at the time. So you have to have the lab analysis to come back as well to go along with that for the fire investigator to use it in the case. The next thing is preparing his odor. So what we do is we'll put on a pair of gloves. You can use latex, just anything that keeps your hands themselves off the odor. And we're going to get a piece of material that's in this room, so it's not foreign to this room. It's actually here naturally. It's been in here. It smells like the rest of this room. And in this case, it's a small little piece of board from the drywall. This is Stryker's odor kit. All these are his different odors that he's trained to look for. There's 18 of them. It can be anything from the brake fluid to Coleman fuel to weathered gasoline. Weathered gasoline is different. It's gasoline that's vaporized. So these are all the different odors that he's trained to. So what we do is we just pick one. And since we train 5 times a week, we try to alternate the odors so it's not always the same odor all the time. Next thing we'll do is take a small sample, so we'll use a syringe so we can deliver just the right amount of liquid we want to on it, which is just a couple drops. We don't want to use very much. It just really doesn't take very much. And then we'll put the syringe back in there. We recap this. We'll get this out of this area. And then we're going to hide this piece that we spiked or put the liquid on in another location for him to find. We're going to keep our gloves on, and we're going to take this, and I'll let you guys see where we're going to put it. So we have this seam right here. We're going to actually stick it inside this seam, down here at the floor. We like using pieces from the room again so it's not foreign. It can be hidden here. We haven't brought it in and then put the odor on it, and then when we're done training, we're able to get it back out so we don't contaminate this area, so it'll be ready for another dog when it comes through another time. Won't be any residual odor here. So that's the best practice for this part of it. And now we're going to let it set for about 25 minutes, and then we're going to get Stryker and see how he does. And there he found it. gonna come to the exact spot this is, and notice I'm not showing his toy, it just looks like my hand coming down here. I'm gonna make this appear to come out of where the odor was, and then he gets to play with it. Good boy.
boy, Akron boy.
There's your up.